Well, we have some big breaking news coming in. The Delhi High Court, in moments from now, will deliver the verdict on a petition by the Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who has challenged his arrest by the Enforcement Directorate in the Liquorgate probe. While Kejriwal remains in judicial custody till April 15th, the Enforcement Directorate, on the other hand, is trying to establish a money trail while terming Kejriwal as the kingpin of the liquor scam. We have Shawan joining us from the Delhi newsroom. Shawan, what is the latest update as far as the hearing is concerned?
Well, in fact, this was a plea that was filed by Arvind Kejriwal challenging the arrest that was made by the Enforcement Directorate under Section 19 of the PMLA Act. Now, the court has clarified that this is not to do with the bail. In fact, we're given to understand that the order is already being dictated in the Delhi High Court, where they're saying, and this is what the order reveals, that the material that has been collected by the Enforcement Directorate reveals that Arvind Kejriwal conspired and was actively involved in use and concealment of proceeds of crime. Now, that's a big statement coming in from the Delhi High Court. Prima facie, looking at the evidence that has been gathered by the Enforcement Directorate, this is what the Delhi High Court has to say, and I'm quoting. The court says that Arvind Kejriwal was actively involved in use and concealment of proceeds of crime, number one. Number two, the ED case also reveals that he was involved in his personal capacity as well as the convener of Aam Aadmi Party. Remember, this was the basis of which the arrest has already been made. Now, Delhi High Court says, in view of the facts represented by the Enforcement Directorate, Kejriwal is involved in the conspiracy. Now, that's the big statement coming in from the Delhi High Court, that Delhi High Court says with the evidence that has been produced by the Enforcement Directorate, it turns out that Kejriwal is involved in the conspiracy. In the present case, among several statements of Raghav Magunta, Sharath Reddy, are approver statements which were recorded under PMLA as well as Section 164 of the CRPC. ED claims Kejriwal is the convener of the party right now. Remember, the Delhi High Court essentially dictating the order, but the big statement really coming in is with regards to the alleged involvement of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in the excise policy, and the High Court essentially indicating that from the evidence that has been provided by the Enforcement Directorate, it appears that Arvind Kejriwal is involved in the concealment of the proceeds of crime. Now, that's what the Delhi High Court has to say, and let's make it very clear that this particular order has nothing to do with the bail petition. This was on the petition that was filed by Arvind Kejriwal challenging the arrest made by the Enforcement Directorate under Section 19 of the PMLA Act. We'll also try and see if we can bring in our reporters on the ground from outside the Delhi High Court, Riyanka as well as Piyush Ori, who are tracking the story very closely. Now, as the High Court is now pronouncing the verdict, I'm just putting out some more details of the order. The High Court says that material collected by the Enforcement Directorate reveals that Arvind Kejriwal conspired, was involved in the formulation of the excise policy, used proceeds of crime. He was allegedly involved in personal capacity in formulation of the policy and demanding kickbacks. And secondly, the capacity of the national convener of Aam Aadmi Party. Now, to cast doubt on the manner of recording of the statement of the approver would amount to casting aspersions on the court and the judge. Now, court has recorded the submissions of Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Remember, Abhishek Manu Singhvi was representing Arvind Kejriwal to begin with. Now, the court is of the opinion that among several statements, the statements of Sharath Reddy and Raghav Magunta have been termed as unreliable, is what Abhishek Manu Singhvi had to say. Remember, this was the argument that was essentially put forth by Abhishek Manu Singhvi with regards to the fact that, number one, whether at all there was a need for the arrest of Arvind Kejriwal to begin with. Secondly, they also questioned the fact that the Enforcement Directorate had carried on with the arrest or had taken a punitive action based on the statements that were recorded. In fact, they say, this is what Abhishek Manu Singhvi had argued before the court, that relying on the statement of Dinesh Arora and the fact that there are several other statements that were recorded indicated that Arvind Kejriwal was nowhere named in the past. Remember, this was also something that was argued by Abhishek Manu Singhvi as well as the legal team of the Aam Aadmi Party, particularly in the case of Sanjay Singh, saying that the statements that have been recorded so far, these are statements that took the name of the Chief Minister only after they became an approver. essentially indicating that there was some sort of a quid pro quo. So they had hit out at the enforcement directorate, simply saying that these are forcible statements that were recorded by the enforcement directorate. This was the argument that was put forth inside the court. Remains to be seen whether at all it's going to stand the scrutiny of the court or not at this point in time. Right now, the submission that has been made by Abhishek Manu Singhvi, that has been recorded, and the court essentially summarizing the arguments that have been put forth. Now, once again, remember, the law of the approver is over 100 years old and not 1 year old. It cannot be suggested that it was enacted to implicate the present petitioner. Now, that's what the Delhi High Court has to say. On the issue of non-supply of documents, I've said that you will be entitled as per law. Remember, there was also an argument that was put forth by the legal counsel of Arvind Kejriwal that documents pertaining to this particular case was not provided to the legal counsel as well as his other teams that were basically looking into the matter. However, having said that, the court has indicated that all the material pertaining to the liquor scam would be provided to the petitioner, which happens to be Arvind Kejriwal.
Right, we have Piyush Ori also joining us live from Rouse Avenue Court. Piyush, so far the Aam Aadmi Party's argument was that Arvind Kejriwal is nowhere involved in this entire liquor policy scam, and in fact he had also named Atishi and Saurabh Bharadwaj in the previous hearing, saying that the meetings and Vijay Nair reported to these two ministers and he was completely clean. But the court has now wrapped Arvind Kejriwal, saying that the enforcement directorate has provided documents which clearly indicate that Arvind Kejriwal conspired and was also involved in the concealment of the proceeds of crime.
Three important points, Deepak, and let me just elaborate one by one. First, the court, as far as the judgment that has been dictated so far by the Sundata Sharma court, has mentioned it very categorically that the directorate did arrest Delhi Chief Minister not only on the basis of the statement of approval Arvind Kejriwal claims have been for in his regard. However, the judgment which has been dictated by Sundata Sharma states very categorically that the basis of arrest of enforcement directorate has all
Well, we'll get Piyush back on the line, but let's now go across to Riyanka, because Riyanka is also tracking this development very closely from ground zero. Riyanka, so far Arvind Kejriwal has not, has been evasive in his answers. He is not cooperating with the enforcement directorate. He is decrying the arrest. And the court has also said that Arvind Kejriwal is not providing the documents that's necessary. And in fact, enforcement directorate had also said that Arvind Kejriwal is not giving the password to the electronic devices that were recovered, which could possibly help them connect the dots to the money trail.
Well, that's right. Time and again, we have seen how the Enforcement Directorate has maintained its stand that Arvind Kejriwal has been evasive and non-cooperative when it comes to the probe, with the ED constantly putting forward the statements. And also the ED has gone ahead and said that Arvind Kejriwal has not given the password for his phone in order to access the digital data. Kejriwal claimed that if he gives the password, then there will be a leakage of the election strategy. So on these grounds, the ED is building a strong case against Arvind Kejriwal. Now the court has started pronouncing its verdict. It has clarified that this is not a bail plea that was moved by Kejriwal, but challenged the arrest and the remand of Arvind Kejriwal. Well, the petition that was challenged is in terms of the arrest and the remand. The Delhi High Court has said not a bail application, but a petition for the custody has been challenged. So that is a clarification which has been made by the court here. Let us get you more on the order. The material collected by the Enforcement Directorate reveals that Arvind Kejriwal conspired and was actively a part of the formulation, and he was involved in the usage of the concealment of the proceeds of crime. So this is what has come in terms of the order. The ED case also reveals that he was involved in the personal capacity as well as the convener of the Aam Aadmi Party. We have seen how Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party has gone ahead and said that his arrest is illegal, the remand is illegal. They have challenged this, and Kejriwal has asked on what grounds has he been arrested. But the ED maintains its strong case, claiming that Kejriwal is the kingpin of the entire liquor policy. The court has said, in the view of the facts presented by the Enforcement Directorate, Kejriwal was involved in the conspiracy. So court is maintaining that the evidences, the facts that was presented by the Enforcement Directorate, Kejriwal is a part of the conspiracy, hence his arrest is illegal. On the other hand, what we also know that the ED has claimed that Kejriwal is the convener of the party. The ED has also alleged once again that the money was used during the Punjab polls, during the campaigning for the Goa elections. The proceeds of crimes were used there. We also know by the High Court, which has said the material collected by the ED reveals that Kejriwal conspired and was involved in the formulation of excise policy and used the proceeds of crime. Let me also read further as to what the court has said, that he is also allegedly involved in personal capacity. Now, on the issue of non-supply of documents, the court is entitled to not call it as an illegal arrest, but this is a legal arrest that is being made of the Delhi Chief Minister. And also we are getting to know that the court says doubting grant of pardon to approvers amounts to casting apprehensions on the judicial process. So, well, we see how...
Right, Priyanka, the Delhi High Court has come down heavily on Arvind Kejriwal for challenging the grounds of his arrest by the Enforcement Directorate. We'll get our viewers all the live updates on this as well. But after a quick break, do stay tuned.